Last week, one of our discussions reached more than 33,000 views and generated nearly 1,000 comments, shares, and reactions. And what made that moment so remarkable wasn't simply the case itself, it was the conversation sparked around it. People from different backgrounds, political beliefs, and regions of the country, and varied life experiences all seem to be asking that same question. Who's got the right to defend themselves? Who is deserving of the benefit of the doubt? Who gets to stand their ground? And who doesn't? So tonight we're not relitigating the facts of the case. We talked about that last week. Instead, we're discussing why this conversation resonated so deeply with what it reveals about race, accountability, public trust, and the way Americans, based on what you look like and how you view the justice system and how you question it today. So my question, let's go to the women of the panel since it was their clip that went viral. Why do you think in particular this conversation resonated with so many people when so many other cases go, sort of without any national recognition at all? This particular case hit home for a lot of people and generated a lot of views. Why do you think? I'll go to you, Gay, first, Gay.
With everything that's going on in the country right now, with Voting Rights Act and the assault, the racist things that are happening in our government, I believe this was just a tipping point. I believe people paid attention because it's a heartbreaking story. Um, when Sunshine and I discussed it and we were talking about it, we were talking about it like that was our kid. Um, and that's personal. It is personal to a lot of families out there and how to litigate this case. I also want to be very clear. In that clip, I was talking about how the kid, how Carmelo had a knife. He did not have a knife. The article that I read said he had a multi-tool, and a multi-tool, I thought was one of those knives that you fold out like a Swiss Army knife, right? And what it was a cleat tool, and it looks like a multi knife. It has different things. And it doesn't change the facts of the case. It doesn't change what I said. What it does show is that this child feared for his life and grabbed the closest thing to him to defend himself. And I think that's obviously the part that's so heartbreaking. What do you think, Sunshine?
Well, I think even though when we're talking about what he had that he used in his hand, I honestly believe that the reason why that resonated with so many people across the country is the fact that that could be something that has happened to them close to home. And we are so used to, when I say we, I'm talking about we as Black people. That we see this so often, whereas where we think that equality is not equal. We're talking about the justice system. It is not equal. It's all judged on who you are, where you are, what side of town you live on. And I think that's what resonated with a lot of people. Plus, to put the icing on the cake, there was another trial that had just happened where another young child in that same age group had been shot and killed from the back, and the person got off from that. These are things that are happening in the community now, and I'll say this, and I'll say this strongly, that I do believe we as a people, when I say people, I'm talking about a Black family, we're tired of this. Our young people have the right to live as well as anybody else. We do not have that fear that if our child walks out the door, that something's going to happen to him. He's a child at a track meet. Then you're under a tent because it's raining and you're going to be bullied by somebody else. So therefore, if I protect myself, but then it falls deeper on the other end. And I'll say this again, I don't like to see no child life taken. No, I do not. But I think about the fact what I even tell my son. If somebody is bothering you, you first thing you're going to try to do is walk away. I want you to walk away at first, but if they're going to push you, don't let anybody just try to take over you. No, you don't do that. And I honestly believe that our community, with what we're seeing that's happening so often, we're looking at the age group in which it is. These young people are our tomorrows, and they are taking their lives as if it was just something put there. And we, as mothers, as Black families, Black fathers, are simply tired of that. And how do you fight it back? That's why I'm so glad to see they have another team up now. They got a whole lawyer team up to fight this case again. They call it the Dream Team. And these are things that I think that we have to keep close to hand. Gay, I love you with a perfect kind of love, but you could never feel what I feel. You can never feel the way that I feel because of your complexion. You cannot feel what I feel with the pain that I feel by looking at those children, and they're not mine, but they look like me. And I
Yeah.
think that the equality of it is not there. And that's what's being fought. Because if Florida, wherever they are, if it's a stand your ground, why can't it be a stand your ground with this? Because I went back and I did some research and I was pulling up and I asked, when I asked the chat GBT, give me some comparisons. And the trials all ended up on the other side with lesser or mostly even just getting, uh, you don't get even jail time. You, you get out there and go clean the community for a minute and you okay. But that's not fair, and I think that's what's resonating so strongly now with the people, the moms, the families in America. That's what I think.
Derek, what are your thoughts?
Again, I would echo similar comments with to those of both Sunshine and Gay. What I found interesting for me is that the comments were so they were again divided, and I'm just going to look at it. You kind of when you click on people's profiles, you kind of get a sense of who they are, and so you look, and they were divided yet again on racial lines, and you could see folks of color really standing up and understanding where, from the point of view of why this case resonated with so many people of color. People are again, they're tired, but then on
Very
the
tight.
on the on the on the opposite side, you saw folks talking about this man needed to die. He's a murderer, and he did this, and he stabbed this, and those things. And I think for me, again, and I also saw a lot of people litigating this stuff in the comments that have no clue of what happened, number one, or
They're just
even,
talking.
and also don't even live in the United States, telling us about race relations and things that should happen in the United States,
Exactly.
as
Hmm.
evidenced by spelling defense DEFENCE. Like,
I
it's just
saw
kind of one
that.
of those things. And I'm like, man, you know, sometimes, like, and I think comment or discussion and engagement are healthy and to understand some others' points of view. But sometimes I just want to tell people just stay out of blank business, and you can insert
Mhm.
whatever you need to insert in the blank. Whether it's United States business, whether it's Black people business. I don't know what it is, but like it's a tough conversation. uh, be honest, I'm tired of having it because I'm tired of seeing people like me getting murdered, or people being unfairly treated by getting unfair or disparate treatment by the judicial system. When it becomes a norm, it's a problem, and we
Hmm.
need to figure out how to address it.
If it wasn't a problem, black mothers and fathers wouldn't have to tell their children how to act when they're pulled over by cops. If it wasn't if there wasn't a racial divide, if black boys and men um, weren't treated differently, then black mothers wouldn't have to say, well, when the cops come, put your hands in your lap, or when the cops come, don't turn your back on them, or if you get pulled over, do this, do that. White mamas don't do that, y'all.
Oh, I know that, but you see, this is what brings me to this point of what I think that America is tired of, that people are tired of. It's the fact that I shouldn't have to tell my child that. I want to say something to that when you said that. When it comes down to racism, it never left. It
Right.
never left. But what has happened is now it's okay to do it because it's saying from the top it's okay. I want to take you back to Emmett Till. Let's go back
Mhm.
that far. Let's go back to Emmett Till. Okay, here's a young boy who said something to a woman, a white woman, but then they find him in a creek later on. He's so disfigured you don't even recognize him. But when I say that now, it shouldn't be a fact because as a matter of fact, there is no difference in either one of us. And whether you believe it or not, and I'm coming to you from a deeper side now, that same God that I've got to stand before, you got to stand before him too. And that means the same thing because you are no better than me. Just because your pigmentation a little bit lighter than mine, I don't have to go in the sun. I don't have to stand out there in the sun to get a little bit darker. Mine's I'm born with it. But what I'm saying is that should be no problem. That's another thing that bothers me when I get like this, because when I hear the excuses or when I hear the things about people say, well, we shouldn't have to do that. We shouldn't have to do that. No, it should not be. When there are things that happen in this world today, I think that now hatred is something not, it's not something you're born with. Racism is not something you're born with. So there today in 2026, it is still being taught because
Hmm.
that is a taught. That is taught. That is still being that way. And we are, as a people, tired of that being taught. And we're the one have to live with the disparities that are happening by the losing of our children. Just like that man is hurting about his child, then I'll say this. You should teach your child, don't go out bullying nobody because you don't know what that person has.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what
Hmm.
that person is going to do for himself to protect him. Don't bully me.
Hmm.
And I mean, it bothers me because it should not be a thing that I shouldn't have to feel fret when I'm in my car driving down the street if I see a cop pull up next to me and I'm a grown woman.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
shouldn't have to feel that, but it's there.
Right.
I'm not
Or
going to take any.
constantly look in the rearview mirror when you're driving. Like,
Exactly when I'm driving.
when
Mm-hmm.
you see him, you're like, oh Lord. There are times that I'll pull into a McDonald's or Burger King
I've done it too.
just so that I am no longer behind. They're no longer
I will
behind
do
me.
it
I
too.
don't even need. Now sometimes I will stop and get something to eat, but that's beside the point. But still, it was it was never my intention to stop there. But to your point, and you raised a great point about these things, and it's still practice, and you or like even at my big grown age, I'll give you a great example. Something just recently
Yes.
happened to me. We had even in our we talk about Democrats and we're big tent, but we still
Mhm.
suffer even within it. There was a lady, and
Exactly.
I won't call her name, although I want to. I'll be nice about it.
Don't do it
In
there. Don't do it.
Okaloosa County, all right, in Okaloosa County, who fabricated a lie because you talked about Emmett Till, who called the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Department on me and said that I threatened to shoot her and cut her and pulled a gun.
Hmm.
And that could have ended badly. This was something that
Hmm.
happened just this year. This lie was fabricated just
Wow.
this year, and
Hmm.
luckily, I don't know why, by the grace of God, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Department said, "You lying, lady," and they didn't take it any step further. But the fact that you would call somebody and tell a
Go that
lie,
far.
and then have a sitting member on the DNC trying to back you up in that lie, child, these people,
Mhm.
it's you. When
It's
we talk about
ridiculous.
it, the racism is notorious, and it permeates through every facet of life, and
And
we
I
still
gotta
have
say
something
this,
to deal with.
and I'm gonna be done with this. And I think that, and this is just truth. I believe because there are some things in me that I dislike, but there are people that I know that I've heard them say things that I didn't think I
Mm-hmm,
would hear come out of their mouth. I've
mm-hmm,
heard them say things when you think that's not going to offend me, but it's
right,
offensive the way it comes out. That lets me know on the inside there's something a little bit deeper than you are allowing to come out to erupt to let me see the real you. That is something there that's covered,
right.
and I feel that so very much, and I think that happens in a lot of places, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
it is like it is now. With the fact it shouldn't be, but it is, and I would encourage every person of color, every black person that's viewed, make sure that you, like with Derek, make sure you got your stuff together because people will lie on you and try
Mm-hmm.
their best to get you in trouble
Yep.
and get somebody to stand with them because what's so bothersome to me is that they will stand up for a lie and they know it's a lie
Mm-hmm.
but won't stand up for the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
If you enjoyed this conversation, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the Blueprint Live. Independent media only grows when people like you help spread the word. So if you're able, consider to become a paid subscriber on Substack. Your support helps us continue producing interviews, analysis, and conversations that challenge conventional thinking. And if becoming a paid member or a paid subscriber isn't possible just yet, that's okay. The easiest way to support us is completely free. Subscribe, follow us across all platforms, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. And thank you for being a part of the Blueprint Live.